Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Margaret Kroma. I'm the Assistant Director General for Partnerships and Impact at the World Agroforestry Center, headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya. And I would like, first of all, before I make my comments, to just acknowledge and thank the organizers of this side event on women's empowerment in landscape restoration for giving me this opportunity to just set the tone, say a few words in setting a tone for the conversation at the side event on this very important topic. Thank you very much, Gina Castillo of Oxfam and Carl Daring of CARE. Thank you. Research in agriculture and natural resource management is replete with evidence that women are also land users around the world. In Africa and other developing areas of the world, they play a large role in managing landscapes at nested scales, from the plot level to farm level, and larger forested landscapes in their rural communities. But when it comes to making important landscape decisions about access, ownership, and land use, whether for conservation, livelihoods, or for restoration, women's perspectives hardly make it into final plans or agreed arrangements. Yet looking around at the threshold of this 21st century, the evidence shows that Africa and other parts of the developing world are awash with projects and interventions mostly aimed at strengthening women's existing roles as landscape managers and agricultural producers, building on their unique knowledge and skills. I find this an enduring paradox. We know now that women in Malawi and other parts of Africa participate in the management, utilization, and marketing of tree products in their landscapes. We know this contributes to food security, household incomes, and sustaining the natural functions of their landscapes. We know that increasing women's access to productive resources, including technologies, financial and extension services, brings about tremendous benefits to women and their households, but it is not enough. I think the evidence is sufficiently compelling now and known by the broad swathe of professionals in development, research, and practice that a focus alone on the removal of these technical and socio-psychological obstacles women face in agricultural production and natural resource management is unlikely to accelerate progress towards that transformative end of gender empowerment that we are all striving for, unless we are at the same time tackling the structural roots of the problem, going beyond a simple focus on women as victims of this underlying patriarchy. As the conversation evolves in this important conference this week, let us seek to probe why wide gaps exist between women and men in the benefits they receive from productive resources, even in situations where they may have relatively equal access, so that our development interventions are appropriately targeted to close such structural gender gaps. Equally, as the conversation evolves this week, let us find opportunities to focus on the issues of how decision-making and community control over landscapes, often vested in older males, affects the tenure and land rights of different social groups: women, minority ethnic groups, youth. Gender is a central element also in the achievement of the post-2015 Sustainable Development Goals. And if the SDGs, as we popularly call them, are to be achieved, the focus will necessarily need to go beyond female farmers and the relative lack of access to productive resources to aggressively spearhead proven, effective policies that dismantle structural barriers. In closing, let me draw attention to the landscape management population gender nexus in Africa, because I think it's very important. As many of you know, current forecasts are estimating a 50% population increase by 2050, signaling that the region has one of the fastest growing populations, largely dependent on food grown on 1 to 2 hectare farms. Guess what? Those farms are largely dominated by women smallholders. But women hardly own the land they work on. Recent statistics indicate, in fact, that in Africa, less than 20% of landholders are women. Yet studies have consistently shown a direct correlation between ownership of land and decision-making around adoption of practices that restore and sustain the fertility of the soil. Because women often lack secure access to land, they tend to be reluctant to invest in restoration and conservation innovations. Productivity increases to feed Africa's growing population and ensure food security must, and I repeat must, go hand in hand with conserving and restoring its soils. For this to be assured, women's rights to land must be made a human right, enshrined in law. At the end of the day, women's empowerment is ultimately also a political question. How representative, for example, are women around the policy table at all levels in Africa? The problem of women's empowerment must be tackled from both ends. So those are just my few thoughts in setting the tone for this very important side event focusing on women's empowerment in land restoration. And I want to take this opportunity to wish you all a very engaging discussion and a very engaging contribution to the final action plans at the end of the conference. Thank you very much.